I had an awesome childhood. Like most kids growing up in the 90s, my TV schedule consists of mostly SpongeBob, Power Rangers, and Transformers, and for the most part, I wasn't really into kiddie shows like Barney or Mr. Rogers or anything. But that day, I was walking with my mom when I was a little kid. At one point of the conversation, she brought up the topic of an old TV show that I sometimes watch. It was called Stubb's Clubhouse. I was unaware of the show that she was referring to at first, but then the memories came flying back. I remembered it so clearly and almost instantly. Basically, Stubb's Clubhouse was a cheesy, low-budget kids show starring the clown named Stubb. He wore a rainbow colored jacket, a hat, and if any of my memory serves, wore a black pants with stars on them. The show was kind of a rip-off of Pee-wee's Playhouse. Even when I was a young kid, I could tell by that. Basically, Stubb lived in a light clubhouse, which is strangely enough looked like a normal house. I assume that was due to their low budget, but Stubb had a group of friends who lived in the clubhouse. But I don't remember very much. But I could vaguely remember a poodle man barely baldly made an elephant costume. Like I said, I don't remember the show because I didn't watch it very much for two reasons. One, it aired very strange at a late time, around 10:30, which is bizarre for a kids show. And two, it only aired in really obstructive channel called Channel Bebo, which only aired for about 3 years, and then the channel was shut down for unknown reasons. The only thing I found about the show was that there was an interesting theme song that was sung by a woman who sounded like if she was half asleep while singing it, and the background music was played entirely on a saxophone. Around November of 2006, I had just turned 14. This was a few days after the conversation with my mom, and I decided to treat myself to a little half-price books. I like half-price books better than Barnes or even Nobles because you can find older books and movies, as opposed to up-to-date stuff at the BNN. So I was browsing for the videotapes, searching for a tape of one of my favorite shows, Street Sharks, a show about anthropomorphic sharks that fought crime. I went through the tapes in alphabetical order, and I just had reached the S section when something caught my eye. It was a tape labeled Stubb's Clubhouse. The case had no logo or picture that indicated that it was Stubb, but it was just a bland case with a piece of tape on the side with Stubb's Clubhouse written on in black Sharpie. I was still a bit curious about the show that I had barely remembered, but plus I couldn't find the Street Sharks, so I decided to buy Stubb. It was pretty cheap, even for a half-price books, being about only 75 cents, but hey, it was a bargain. I took it to the checkout counter, and the woman working there looked at the tape, and then she gave me timidly asked, "Are you sure you want to buy this tape?" I politely said yes, and then she rang up. I went home and took out my VCR and hooked it up to the TV in the living room, and where my 6-year-old Emily, my sister, was playing with her Barbies, and she asked me what I was doing, and I said to her that I got a tape at half-price books that we could watch together. So I put the tape in, and the standard copyright infringement warning, then a message came up as usual. Then the tape started with the theme song, starting with the first episode, a complete saxophone music and sleepy singer. The episode then started off with the clubhouse, where Stubb introduced himself and told the viewers that they were going on a field trip. Then there was a bad rough cut to the playground in the middle of the grassy park. There was a group of small kids that were about old as my sister, playing on the merry-go-round. Stubb walked up to them, and they all ran to give him hugs. After that, Stubb just looked at the camera and asked if the kids would like to play too. And as assumed, Emmy piped up, "Yes!" And Stubb replied, "Alrighty-o. Then come down to the playground and play with me." Emily asked me if we could go to the playground with Stubb, but I told her that this was filmed. However, when I saw something out of interest in the corner of my eye, we do have a playground in the neighborhood, about a block away from our house, but close enough that we could see through our living room window. It took me a second to make a connection, but then it hit me that the playground in that video was the same playground as our neighborhood. Then it hit me even more. The same children in the show are playing on the playground right now, and they were wearing the same clothes that they did in the video. They were performing some the exact same actions, almost as if the video they were being filmed live. And then I looked at something, and something disturbed me greatly in the video. One of the children was holding Stubb's hand, and then that's when I looked out the window and saw the same child making the same motion that he was, holding someone's hand. But there was no one there. But I was shocked, and I just immediately ejected the tape. Much to Emily's sadness, she was beginning to grow fond of the show. I took the tape and threw it in the garbage, and I thought I was done with Stubb, but I was wrong. When the next day when my mom picked Emily up from kindergarten, Emily told me that Stubb had been following her in their car driving a black van. She said that she had looked out the window and saw Stubb behind the wheel, and she told me that she had told Mom, but Mom didn't see any cars or vans whatsoever in the rearview mirror. Emily just was confused and somewhat worried. I told her not to worry about it and try to relax and let an adult handle the situation. The night I went well as my best judgment to fish the tape out of the trash can and watch the episode too. The theme song started, but something was wrong. The saxophone was very disoriented, and the woman's voice was a lot deeper and messed up as well. The title then came up again, and the colors were more dull, being composed of the shades of brown and gray, rather than the usual bright red and yellow. I decided to brush it off as a messed up tape and continued watching. It roughly cut to a still image of Stubb, staring into the camera. After a while, I realized that it wasn't a still image. It was a video of Stubb sitting motionless, staring directly at the viewer. Stubb would periodically turn his head back while if cracking its stiff neck, but it would never blink. He just did this for the entire episode, which lasted about 20 minutes. Right before the episode ended, Stubb closed his eyes and tightly while staring. He then opened up to reveal a pitch black eyes, nothing but blackness. Within its sockets, suddenly the tape then cut to a picture of a house, my house. I frantically ejected tape once more and stuck it into the drawer. I looked out the window and the cameraman would have been, but it was neither no one there or not a trace of anyone there. I tried to go to sleep that night, but I just couldn't. I ended up sneaking downstairs in the middle of the night and sitting in the kitchen all night, when the lights were on and a huge supply of caffeine drinks. The morning came and I was safe for a while. Unexpectedly, the rest of the day went on with no strange occurrences. Emily didn't even see Stubb following them in his van, which was an enormous relief and a bit of hope that it might be over. But that night I woke up and I could be described as conscious sleepwalking. I mean, I got up in the middle of the night did something while being fully conscious and aware, but still drawn by due to the same thing image, something urge. I subsequently took the tape from the drawer and placed it back into the VCR and sat down on the couch and suddenly got awoken from my sleep. I then noticed on the couch I was about to watch the tape. I then took the tape out and went back upstairs, and the strange urge or force told me that I need to watch the final episode. Episode 3, the opening started, but this time it was totally different. The saxophone had been replaced by a loud banging and the voice that sounded deep and demonic sounding, singing in the lyrics and the language I couldn't understand. The title came up and the title card looked like it had been slashed by claws of an animal. Then the episode came on. Stubb was sitting at his table with some children. He asked the children if they wanted to play a game, and they eagerly said yes. Stubb reached into under his table and revealed a large carving knife, and he asked the children to place their arm on the table. A little girl did so, and Stubb asked, "Now tell me how it feels," and he slowly began to slice a thin layer on the girl's arm. And like peeling a potato, blood immediately began to flow, and the room was filled with the little girl's screams. The other children did not run, they just watched, calmly as if they were about to see the rest. He asked the girl, "Does it feel happy?" Stubb continued to slice the thin layer from the girl's arm until he hit the bone. And the girl was wailing like a banshee at this point. But I was in absolute shock. I felt like I could vomitly throw up at any moment. The girl's arm drenched in blood, which had spilled onto the table, and which created a puddle on the tabletop. Stubb was laughing happily, clown-like way, but then the video ended. However, then it cut to another video. It was a video of Emily's room, right now. She was sound asleep. Standing over the bed, looking down, was her Stubb. Suddenly, he looked at the camera with inky black eyes in his sockets. And that, my little pretties, was Stubb's Clubhouse, a creepypasta written by GoopKing. My final thoughts on the story? Well, I remember I hated this story, back, last year when I narrated this. And I do remember Shadow Reader, narrated this, and he didn't like this story either. But I remember in a stream, a live stream, that, someone mentioned this to, Shadow Reader. And Shadow Reader did say that his opinion changed on Stubb's Clubhouse. So, yeah. And with giving this second thought after I reviewed and narrated this story last year, I have my second thoughts on this. Mainly what the thing is about this story is that my opinion on it has completely changed. Now, I can understand why a lot of people really like this story, and I can definitely understand that, I've heard of other narrations of this story, and a lot of other people have done this, which I'm just gonna say right now that that's completely believable, which I'm definitely going to say that now, that is completely believable in many ways. Now, growing up, in the 2000s, I wish I experienced, stuff in the 90s. So if I were to be born again, I would be born either in 1990, 91, or 92. That's actually that's actually one of the years I would be born in if I were to go back in time. But yet again, we can't really do too much. So, I actually found this story to be rather amazing and really well done. Even though, yeah, I know this story was cliched. I'm just saying that right now. I know this story was cliched at parts, so there's nothing really too much to say, but I'm just going to be completely honest when I say this, that I remember hating this story, but my opinion changed on this story, and I am going to be saying that in a little bit on why my opinion on Stubb's Clubhouse has changed. But first, we're just going to go in. Even though this was an old story, and this did have a lot of cliches in the story, but I'm definitely going to excuse the cliches as, this was one of the older pastas. I'm not sure when this was actually written per se, but, I think this was written about maybe be 6-7 years ago, around that time. But I do remember this story being really interesting. I have heard of other narrations of the story, and the story itself looked really interesting. I could definitely tell that the author did a really good job when it came to this story. So, with that being said, I'm just going to say right now that this is actually one of the best Lost Episode pastas I've seen. Yes, I have seen some other ones, but, this one actually was pretty interesting, to say the least. So, the oldest Stubbs Clubhouse narration I was able to find was the Crips McPasta version, which was released 6 years ago. So, I definitely like the fact that the grammar of this story is really good. It was very well detailed, really well made. I definitely love how all this went out. Now, it's really freaky near the end where, Stubbs Clubhouse, takes like a knife or something and starts to cut through somebody's arm and stuff. Oh my god. That one was actually very freaky, if you ask me. It was one of the most freakiest things I've ever seen or encounter in this case. Now, I definitely have to say that the story actually had a pretty good concept to it, so it actually really fits out well. Now, I could definitely say this right now that this is actually very believable, and the protagonist actually did pretty well done describing, the show in its own sense. Now, I'm definitely gonna say that right here, right now, that, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, that the fact that, that the cliches that were in this story, I'm willing to excuse them. I know I didn't last year, and I know Shadow Reader didn't when he first narrated this, but to be completely honest, my mind has changed on Stubbs Clubhouse. It's actually a pretty well made and interesting story, and the concept of it was pretty cool. Now, I definitely have to say that the story actually fits out well with the whole situation and stuff, that I definitely have to say, I really do like this story. It actually flows out well when it came to that story, so when I actually saw this story, I actually found this story to be rather enjoyable in a well-made detail. Now, yet again, near the ending was alright for what it is, but to me, the ending could be explained more. It's like, when Emily was asleep, Stubb was looking down at the camera with inky black eyes in his sockets. Like, there was like no other, the ending could have been explained a little bit better. Maybe the protagonist, go find Emily and see if the clown was actually there or something like that. But I do have a potential theory about this that could be the possibility. I'm not too entirely sure, but I'm gonna go ahead and explain it. Well, for Emily seeing Stubb, the clown, actually thinking, that Stubb is real and stuff like that, I think maybe Emily is experiencing some paranormal stuff. That could be possible on why she's seen Stubb and not her brother. Well, even though her brother's been seeing it, but then when they look over at another area, they don't see it. So I have a feeling that this might be maybe paranormal stuff happening. So maybe that's why it caused these kids to go, all over the place. So That is very possible that it could be the case, but I'm not really too sure. But if you guys want to point it out, just let me know in the comments below, because I would like to hear your thoughts and opinions on that. So, take it by the fact that I've actually heard of this story before. It actually didn't really bother me or anything like that. I've heard plenty narrations of it, but now I'm going out of my way and narrate it. I really love this story. Now I did know you guys are saying, "Hey, why did you dislike it?" Well, I decided to give it a second chance because, well, this was an old pasta. I thought it was a recently done one, but this is an old one, so I'm definitely saying that now. This was done before cliches became like a really big problem in curry pastas. But with that being said, what are my thoughts on? Well, I actually found this story to be rather enjoyable. Like, I like the grammar of the story, the sentence structuring, the paragraph structuring, the concept. Everything was very well detailed and well made. And that's definitely something why I really do enjoy this story. And that's actually why the story actually flows out well with the whole concept. So, uh, like I'm gonna say right now, and like I always continue to say, that this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's a great concept, great grammar, great sentence structuring, great paragraph structuring. I do like how the story was flowed out well. The flow of the story was actually good. The ending could be maybe explained a little more, but other than that, the story actually is fine the way it is. And take it by the fact that I have seen this story on other people that have gone out of their way in narrating this. I actually have to say that this story actually fits out well with the concept. So, although I could say the ending needs to be, explained a little better, but other than that, the story actually fits out well, and I definitely have to say that I really do remember this story being good. So, with that being said, what did you guys think of this curry pasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to my upload so that you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out of here. And I will be catching you all in the next video. So peace out, everyone. And I'll see you all next time.